So what's the difference between IP strategy development and IP valuation? Well, let's start first with IP strategy development. In IP strategy development, we basically focus on the creation of value, and we start with a business model first, which is a given business model, and we look how value is created with the help of IP. The evaluation or the IP strategy determination, how value is, which value can be created with the help of IP, starts basically with a desired economic effect that's appropriated with IP with a certain impact, and this impact basically stems from an IP function, and the IP function basically determines which flavor of IP we can use for preserving, maintaining, maximizing the desired economic effect, which basically creates value. Well, the IP strategy development focuses then on the question which IP can be considered to create value. Whether and how this is basically done is the topic of IP valuation.
So, contrary to the strategy, the IP valuation is aimed at the value detection, so we should keep that really in mind. The examination here is whether the use of the IP in the context of the business model actually will lead to increased returns. As such, it makes a link here between the resources and the value creation. It's also a mechanism of control, because it checks whether the IP that is to be evaluated is relevant in the competitive position.
Now that we have learned what IP strategy and IP evaluation is aiming at, we should look a little bit in the principle of valuation, and we will do that on the example of a German standard that defined these principles. The German standard DIN is, let's say, the blue book of process and material standards. So it is a high level of installment into the process environment. What is the principles? It's about a common way of analyzing the value added by IP to the business. And it starts from the function of IP and makes its way forward to the economic effect and the valuated IP, the value added IP achieves through a sound exploitation, which is displayed by the appropriation regimes. There is factors who have a massive impact on what's going on in the middle of this process chain. That is namely, on the one hand side, the economic factors, it's external factors. We can also say it's the external complementary factors. This is a definition or a wording that is used in the community, and it is telling us something about the market environment. We are not acting in free space. There is massive influence and preconditions that enable or disable different sorts of appropriation and patent value creation. On the other hand side, what we are acting upon is IP in form of a patent in this description, and the force of this patent in the process chain is mainly depending on the technical factors. That means how significant is this patent? Is it in an area that is significant, standard related, standard essential whatsoever? And on the other hand side, legal factors, diverse legal factors. The most common are: where is this right installed? Where does it exist? Which protection mechanism has been chosen? Is it an EP? Is it a PCT? And finally, in which countries can we work with the protection frame? Well, these two factors, both economic and the strength of the patent and its barrier effect, create a market impact, and this leads to an appropriation regime that, if executed, generates a cash flow per definition and determines the patent value.
With reference to fortress monopoly, the company want to achieve a premium price, that it means a unit product with a high degree of differentiation. So the company can charge a premium price for the benefit that clients receive. The way of appropriating the economic effect is the sale of the product. So we can internalize the economic effect with direct and indirect appropriation mechanism when we have an IP impact. So we can, the company have the possibility to command a higher price with the unique selling proposition. Unique selling proposition means that the function of the IP right could be a reputation function, because it's necessary to communicate the uniqueness of the product, plus in order to achieve the premium price, the protection of the product against copying.
So Giulia just explained the IP-based value generation for a fortress monopoly based strategy. I will talk about the IP-based value generation and a value-added monopoly. Now, most of us, I hope, would remember the individualized functional yogurt from the last module. So that's the case and example that we have here. We are expecting, I mean, since it's a value-added monopoly, we're expecting that the features are what will give, the protection of the features is what will give us the expected the strategy here. So in this case, we expect that the patent will perform the function of protecting the features that deliver the superior customer benefit. If you remember, it was the individualized, customized nutrition, as well as protecting the entire value chain of collecting the inputs from the customer, formulating this yogurt, as well as delivering it to the health centers. So those are the two functions that we expect the patents to perform in this particular case. And the impact, of course, should be seen through the strong, unique selling proposition that will be hopefully appreciated by the customers, and should also aid in creating a unique communication protocol. I mean, maybe some reputation and branding will help in this particular case. The appropriation on returns will be expected through the sale of the individualized functional yogurt, and of course the economic effect can either come through by the willingness of the customers to pay the price premium for such a fantastic product, or by increasing the market share through either through the branding or the marketing that the individualized function will help us to achieve.
What about value creation in the hub monopoly? The telecommunications standards are a typical example of IP-based value generation in the hub monopoly. In this case, the main function of the patent is the protecting function, which means protecting features of the transmission technologies and making them standard essential by contributing to a standardization procedure in order to gain license fees. The impact out of the protection function is that devices that comply with the standard have to use this patent protected feature due to interoperability requirements, and therefore the returns are appropriated through granting licenses to standard implementers and avoidance of own license payments by cross-licensing. And the economic effect is direct cash flow from license fees.
So it's the monopoly in a box. We had one example with the Shimano gear shift in the part of the bicycle. We have also the microprocessor of Intel inside a laptop. Regarding this, the key function we have is the protection. of the technology. That of course it will be a complement of the product that will be sold for the end consumer. The key impact, creating a competitive advantage. Here it's the technology lead. It's the same goal. It's to provide to the manufacturer this competitive advantage. So for the seller of the laptop or the seller of the bicycle. We can see two typical ways of regarding the appropriation of patent returns. So we have the first one, the sale of the product to the manufacturer, or we have the model to grant a license for the production by the manufacturer itself. And the last point, the economic effect. In relation with this appropriation, we will have two possible economic effects: the premium prices related to the sales, or the revenues from the license fees.